Caesar de Bello Gallico, Book 4, Chapter 32. Well, Caesar's been left on Britain. He's got to get his ships rebuilt. He's got to get grain foraged. And he's expecting a conspiracy of the British. Is he correct? Let's find out. While these things, the ship rebuilding and everything, are being carried on, we have an ablative absolute clause with one legion. Where's your predicate? Nisa. With one legion having been sent. What can we say about the legion? Which was being called the seventh. So the seventh legion was being sent out, frumentatum, supine, indicating accusative purpose for the cause of grain getting out of custom. So normally they're sent out. Neither ablative absolute clause with any suspicion of war having been interposed, having come into their minds at that time. Cum, relative adverb clause signal, looking for the subjunctive, there it is. When part of the men were remaining in the fields, part also were venituyarent, were coming to and fro. They were going in and out in castra, into camp, bringing the food with them that the buddies who were out in the fields were gathering. Now, whether or not these guys are actually getting the scythes out there and they're whacking down the grain that somebody else had so thoughtfully planted for them, or whether or not they're just forcing tribes to deliver the food directly, kind of like going to Domino's and sticking them up so you get your pizza in 30 minutes, yes, we don't know. But we know that those who were in the station in front of the gates of the camp, so they were the watch guards, announced to Caesar, indirect statement clause, greater what? A greater dust than is customary was bearing. So that, interestingly enough, a greater dust that was customarily born was seen in that part into which the legion had made a journey. So, there's a lot more grain, there's a lot more dust out there. It doesn't seem like it's just a legion getting out their grain stuff. Caesar, having been suspicious or having suspected from suspicor, it's a deponent, that which was the case, which was already, that having suspected that something of a new plan having been begun by the barbarians. So Caesar, having suspected, now we know that Caesar's really smart, so he's having suspected that which was really the case, that something of new plan having been begun, it's a indirect statement clause, has been begun by the barbarians. He ordered the cohorts, infinitive, to succeed. All right, so now, and profikiski. Okay, so he ordered the cohorts, which were on guards, to set out. Hey guys, get you ready, go. With him into that part. He also ordered a syndeton, no conjunction, 2 cohorts, shows the speed of it happening, 2 cohorts to follow up into the station, to succeed in station. We're going to protect the camp, and the rest to be armed and to follow closely himself immediately. Oh, when indirect cum clause, they had proceeded for a little longer, ablative of degree of distance, adverb here, from the camp, he perceived, using his Caesar senses, indirect statement clause, that his own men are being pressed by the enemies, and that they are sustaining hardly or poorly, and that the legion, with the legion having been crowded together, that indirect statement clause, darts were being thrown out of all parts. Oh my goodness, Caesar sees all of this from a distance. Because with all the grain having been cut down out of all the regions, this is why the Britons are here, one part was left. So the enemy think, well, they've gotten the grain everywhere else. Therefore, the enemy, having suspected, indirect statement clause, that our men were going to come back here, prospective participle, therefore. Um, they literant, they laid hidden by night in the woods. Then suddenly, having risen up, they attacked. Having risen up, they perturbabi. They attacked. They put to order the dispersed men, having been engaged in reaping or grain getting, with their arms having been put aside. So they, having risen up, they perturbawer. They had disturbed, utterly thrown into consternation and trouble. The dispersed guys, having been engaged in reaping, the dispersed guys are our guys, the Romans, with their arms having been laid aside, with a few having been slain, they rest. The rest understood. They disturbed the rest. So there's another asyndeton there, but in uncertain ranks, because they weren't ready for this. At the same time, they had surrounded with cavalry, and the chariots. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen to these poor men? Is Caesar going to get there in time? Will the cavalry and chariots mow them over? What will happen with the grain? We'll find out that next time. So until then, true believers, Excelsior!